Today I'm doing something that's a little bit different. It's a vegetable and peanut butter stew, but it really could be an underground stew because so many of the ingredients actually grow underground. First, I'm starting with an onion underground. And I've got a tablespoon of vegetable oil, a chopped onion, 1 cup, and I've let it cook about 5 minutes just to add a little bit of softness to that and get it started ahead of time. Also smells really good. Next, I'm using sweet potato. Now you could use butternut squash if you wanted, but we're going underground here. So I've got 2 cups or 1 large sweet potato going in here. And I want it to get a little bit of that flavor. So I'm going to give it a few seconds with the onion by itself just to kind of get it coated and get it started cooking a little bit. And then we're going to add 2 cups of white potato to this. And do basically the same thing. We've got 4 ingredients all from the underworld here, and we're going to add about 30 seconds time between each addition, or we'll aim for something close to that. I've got 1 cup of carrot that's just cut into chunks. All these things, we just want them cut enough that when people are eating them, they should be able to get it in their mouth without having to cut it further. But you don't want them in little tiny pieces because it's a stew and we want to make sure we know what we're getting in here. The last thing that's going in here is from above ground, and I've got somewhere between 6 to 10 ounces of spinach or other green that you might want to add. And again, we're going to stir these together a little bit, and this is going to collapse a lot. But because you can see that it hasn't collapsed yet, that's the primary reason that I'm using a pan that's this big. If you wanted to use a large skillet, a deep skillet, you could do that. But you need to add the greens a little bit at a time as opposed to the way I did it, which was pretty much just adding them all at one time. All right, again, starting to cook down a little bit. So now we can add some more ingredients. I've got 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne that's going in here. A cup of crushed tomatoes. You could use tomato sauce if crushed tomatoes aren't in your pantry or they're hard to find or you just didn't can any this year. And then also somewhere between 1 to 1.5 cups of water. I'm going to go ahead and add the full amount because I want it to be liquid enough that I could tell that it's a stew. You could add a little bit more if you needed to. You could also, if you decide to make this, you could use a vegetable broth or a chicken broth to it. It would add more flavor, but you're going to need to watch it. This one has some ingredients that add a fair amount of sodium to it. So are definitely going to be tasting it as you go and using a broth that doesn't have much salt added to it. This we're going to bring up to a simmer, put a lid on it, and let it cook for, about 15 minutes. We want to cook the vegetables until they become tender, but we don't want to cook them too much because we're going to cook them a little bit more after there. So it's sort of that Goldilocks moment. It's just got to find that perfect spot. So we'll let ahead and get going, and we'll be back. I tested the sweet potato with a paring knife and found out it was softened up quite nicely. So we're ready to go ahead here. I want to get some of this liquid, and if you have as much trouble as I am, feel free to get some just straight water, although it needs to be hot because the peanut butter, I've got about 6 tablespoons of peanut butter, and if the peanut butter is mixed with the cold water, it will take a lot longer to blend together. So this is part of the seasoning that's going in here, and I just want to get this until it's nice and smooth as much as can be done while there's some spinach hiding in there. And you can use whatever peanut butter you like. I'm using a creamy version. You could use one with the nuts already in there, the chunky kind as well. Whatever one your family usually eats is going to be fine in here. This is going back in here. We're going to stir this in to try and blend it all together. And I'm also going to add to it a tiny bit of salt because remember that unless you're using an unsalted peanut butter, there's going to be a fair amount already in there. And so I'm going to add about 1/4 teaspoon, and we'll save the rest until it's done. Then we can taste it and add more. Always easier to add than the impossible of taking it back out. So this is going to cook about 10 more minutes. So remember, you did not want the potatoes and everything to be completely cooked. Let the knife go in easily, but not too tender. You can see how glorious it looks. The color, it thickens up when you add that peanut butter in there, and it has all this great nutrition from the greens and the sweet potatoes. It is just an awesome, awesome dinner for a cold day. I hope you'll give this one a try. It's vegetable and peanut butter stew. For Oklahoma Gardening, I'm Barbara Brown.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.